This is Dragon Ball RPG Rebirth, written by KLL Darkness, read for you by Asher Thor. Chapter 2. Oh shit. I lay still on the floor for a moment, adjusting to the changes I was feeling. My body, my mind, my personality, every bit of it was changing in response to entering a new world. I actually felt more dumb compared to my last life, but I felt a million times stronger. I guess the stats in this game actually have meaning, I thought to myself. You have gained +1 intelligence for puzzling out an aspect of the game. Oh, well, alright then. Apparently my stats were much more fluid than I had originally expected. I looked around the room I was in, seeing several other Saiyan children, most sleeping in small cots, but a few were spaced out on mats like I was. They all seemed to be around the same age I was, which from the perk I purchased told me was 5 years old. As I was looking around the room, a little blue box popped up out of the corner of my right eye. Turning towards it, I saw that it said, "Begin tutorial." I reached out and tapped it, expecting it probably worked like the manga. The world shifted around me, leaving me in an empty white world, mildly reminiscent of the hyperbolic time chamber. Welcome to Dragon Ball RPG Rebirth. In this tutorial, you'll learn the basics of ki, movement, energy manipulation, system management, and how to interact with the world. Would you like to begin? Another blue box stated. I tapped on accept, prompting a green box to pop up. Quest accepted. Learn how to play the game. Tutorial. Reward, 100 experience. Failure, not announced. Hint, swipe, tap, or think to prompts to interact. I thought, close, at the prompt, and it disappeared instantly. Rather intuitive, actually. Especially since this world will be rather dangerous, and a random prompt could distract me. Having to touch a prompt would be rather difficult at times. Another prompt quickly followed that one. I followed along, learning how to move my ki, concentrate it, and use it for actions. Basic energy attacks were as simple as concentrating my ki into the palm of my hand and pushing. Flying was a bit more difficult, but knowing that Videl managed it, I figured I would get it after a fashion. Part of the tutorial covered the options menu, which I think may just be the cheatiest part of the entire system, namely subtitles. I could understand any conversation from any distance as long as I could see them talking, not even necessarily hear them. I progressed pretty quickly until I had finished the final part of the tutorial. It covered how to suppress my energy and power up to gain access to my full energy. At my current power level, I could suppress down to 1/10 of it without feeling any fatigue. Any lower and I would begin to feel tired. Quest finished. Success! Learn how to play the game. Tutorial. Reward. 100 experience. 1900 experience until level 2. I closed that prompt and the world flashed again, leaving me once again in the room with the other children. Thankfully, the tutorial covered some of the world itself, so I wasn't completely lost. I was currently located on Frieza Planet 2744b, a moonless planet near planet Vegeta. The city surrounding me, Sirik, was home to over 20 million lives. Most were a multitude of alien races, of which Saiyan was but a small percentage. I currently lived in an orphanage for Saiyan children that were abandoned by their parents or passed over for off-world missions. The age was 772. Frieza had reigned supreme for 14 years, since age 758, when he defeated his father, King Cold, in single combat. An entire solar system was destroyed in that battle, and it's said that the entire universe shook with their battle. King Vegeta had passed long before then, in age 756. His successor, Prince Vegeta. King Vegeta, better known as Viceroy Vegeta, was currently in control of Sector 5A of King Frieza's empire. All of this was mostly meaningless, in the grand scheme of things, but knowing it would help me blend in. There was plenty more taught in the tutorial, but we'll come to that as it becomes relevant. The most important thing to know at this time is that tomorrow is the quote-unquote test. 3 Saiyan captains would arrive tomorrow and test all the children's power levels. Anyone above a certain limit would be conscripted into the force and trained to one day join others in the planet trade. They came once a year to test the children, and generally only took 1 or 2 that had reached a level that made them trainable. I didn't exactly know why I had been passed up, as I didn't have real memories of the past 5 years, just a hazy overview. Regardless, tomorrow I was certain to be picked, and would immediately be in the thick of it. I spent a bit of time studying the children around me, sensing their power levels, getting an idea of the general range of my age group. At 170 power level, I was definitely near the top, though one girl's power level was near 250, as far as I could tell. I would definitely be snagging the third level of power sense when I could. Through studying others, you've created a skill. Observe, level 1, 0.0%. Allows you to see details about people you study. Gives a greater depth with higher levels. Limited in scope by the current level. Reward, 50 experience points. 1850 experience till level 2. Well, that's certainly good timing, I thought to myself. I quickly observed the 3 other children with the highest power levels. Name, Sana. Race, half Saiyan. Age, 5 years. Status, alive. HP, 2300. Level, 2. Was placed in an orphanage at 4 years old when her mother was executed for treason. Having been previously trained by her mother, she's one of the most skilled children in the orphanage. Having only been alone for a few short months, she has yet to make any friends besides Jolie. Their training together has helped Jolie's strength grow in leaps and bounds, giving him the chance to be picked along with Sana. Name, Jolie. Race, Saiyan. Age, 5 years. Status, alive. HP, 1850. Level, 1. Abandoned at 2 years old, Jolie has spent his time in the orphanage, picked on and abused for being passed over each year by the selection squad. With the help of Sana, however, his power has grown tremendously, and has a very real chance to join her in training. Name, Liss. Race, Saiyan. Age, 5 years. Status, alive. HP, 1300. Level, 1. Liss is the youngest son of Captain Joss of the 4th Strike Force. Seen as an embarrassment for being born with a power level of only 17, he was abandoned at only 11 months old. He does not know who his parents are, hoping to one day find out. He has worked himself to the bone to make up for his lack of power, and has become a force to be reckoned with. On the playground, at least. With use, you've leveled up Observe. Reward, 10 experience points. 1840 experience till level 2. Observe, level 2, 22.7%. Allows you to see details about people you study. Gives greater depth with higher levels. Limited in scope by the current level. With use, you've leveled up Observe. Reward, 20 experience points. 1820 experience till level 2. Observe, level 3, 17.2%. Allows you to see details about people you study. Gives greater depth with higher levels. Limited in scope by the current level. Sana, huh? I'll have to keep an eye on her. The other 2 are interesting as well. Jolie appeared to be in the upper 100s, and Liss around 120. This general sensing bullshit was getting tiring, honestly. It's interesting to know that I can learn information that is unknown to others using Observe. Seeing that none of the other children were much to worry about, I decided now would be a good time to catch some more sleep. This body is practically new as it is. I opened the menu and saved the game in the first slot. I suppressed my energy down to 30, laid back down on the mat, and with no effort, fell asleep. You have awoken. HP fully restored. That's so fucking broken. I don't even know what to do with it. I practically thought screamed. If I can heal just by sleeping, what will that mean for training, Zenkais, and whatever else? Get up now, brats! Breakfast is ready, and you have an hour before our guests are here. If you haven't eaten by then, you'll do without. A loud voice called from the entrance room. I turned and observed. Name, Ricto. Title, Headmaster. Race, Zoan. Age, 48. Status, alive. HP, 33,400. Level, unknown. Ricto is the headmaster of the orphanage, a skilled trainer but with low personal power. He was thought perfect for the role. He demands respect from the children and won't hesitate to punch you through a wall if you give him cheek. Also good to know. Thanks, game, I thought. I hopped up and joined the other children as we fled through the doorway. As we reached the top landing, I was shoved hard from behind. Where do you think you're going, Triclops? I heard from where I was currently laying on the floor. I looked up and found the owner of the voice. Liss stood over me, staring down at me with disgust rather evident on his face. Huh. It didn't mention he was a bully in this little biography, I thought. Wait, did he say Triclops? My hand reached up, feeling my face. I had 3 eyes. I had 3 fucking eyes! What the fuck? I started to say, but only knew darkness. You have awoken. HP fully restored. Due to healing from less than 30% HP, you've gained a Zenkai bonus of 0.1. Due to defeat enhanced Zenkai, that bonus is instead 0.2. Energy modifier is now 1.9, for a total power level of 190. I opened my eyes, all fucking 3 of them, and found myself laying on the grass outside of the orphanage. I looked up at the building and found a hole in the side, near the top of the building. Ricto was standing in the hole, looking down at me. He floated out of the hole and drifted down to me. "Watch your language! You know better than that!" he yelled at me. "I'm sorry, sir. I was, surprised by Liz pushing me," I replied, getting to my feet. He looked down at me, surprise forming in his face. "Well, you're a sturdy little brat, aren't you? Most would be sobbing out their broken ribs in a med-tank right now. Whatever. When the captains pass you over again, you get to spend the rest of the day fixing the hole you made. Am I clear?" I nodded as he grabbed me and flew us both back inside. I walked down the stairs, trailing after the other kids, wondering about the situation. Obviously, it was the inner eye perk that gave me 3 eyes. It'd have been nice if it had mentioned that little facet. I had plenty of bonus points to buy the perk for extra feats. I could have easily gotten energy sense that way. Oh well, I suppose. No reason to bitch about things I can't actually control. Tien made 3 eyes look cool. Maybe I can as well. I sat down near the end of one of the long benches that framed each table in the dining room. More of a cafeteria, I suppose. There was plenty of food to go around, and neither of the 2 children I was sitting next to seemed all that bothered by my lack of a tail, or 3 eyes. I quickly observed every child in the room that I had a line of sight to, leveling up observed twice more, earning 70 experience total. Only 1,750 left till level 2. I felt something off to the left of me and turned towards the door. Whoa. Holy shit, I thought, as 3 tall Saiyans walked in. I couldn't sense their power levels very well, but the one in the middle was in the upper 30k range, and the other 2 were between 15 and 23k. I observed each in turn. Name, Marlowe. Title, Captain of the 8th Strike Force. Race, Saiyan. Age, 24. Status, alive. HP, 42,850. Level, unknown. Marlowe is the captain of the 8th Strike Force, hailed as a hero for putting down an insurrection on planet Frieza 44C single-handedly. This is a man you do not want to mess with. Well known for his fierce attitude, his respect can be gained through hard work and diligence. Name, Gruz. Title, Captain of the 14th Strike Force. Race, Saiyan. Age, 28. Status, alive. HP, 37,900. Level, unknown. Gruz is the captain of the 14th Strike Force. He sees training the next generation as one of the most respected positions. He is very particular about who joins his strike force. Known as the Saiyan Flash, he has learned to make his aura as bright as a lightning bolt, and easily blinds most opponents in fights. Name, Lar. Title, Captain of the 23rd Strike Force. Race, Saiyan. Age, 19. Status, alive. HP, 26,420. Level, 11. Lar is the captain of the 23rd Strike Force, and newly minted at that. Having been captain for just under a year after earning a field promotion, Lar isn't always sure he is making the right decision. Taking a lot of heat for being so young, he is always on edge, expecting a fight. Huh. Apparently I can see levels up to 10 above my own. That's good to know, as barring exceptional circumstances, anyone that much higher in level than me is better left alone. I watched as all 3 strode through the doors, observing the children around me that had yet to notice their presence. Both Captain Lar and Captain Gruz had noticed I was staring at them, while Captain Marlowe was busy talking to Ricto. They moved on in their observations, however. Children! Leave your plates in the bins and file outside! Line up along the south wall and wait for your name to be called! Ricto called out, getting everyone's attention. I quickly stood, dropping my plate in one of the bins at the door, and filed out along with the rest. We lined up along the south wall as requested, and waited in mostly silence. I could hear some whispers further down the line and a giggle now and then. It only took about 10 minutes for all the kids to file out and get into the line, followed shortly by the captains and Ricto. Captain Marlowe stepped forth and addressed us.
I am Captain Marlowe of the 8th Strike Force. Some of you may have heard of me, some of you may not have. Beside me are Captains Gruz and Lar. Today you will be tested for strength, speed, and energy potential. Those of you that pass will leave with us today to enter into formal training. Those that do not will receive a final chance next year. Those of you that fail at 6 years old will be sent into General Forces, equipped with a blaster, and be used as cannon fodder. I'd suggest you take this seriously.
All of this was said in a low whisper of a voice that felt as though it chilled the air in its passage.
When I call your name, you will step forward. Your power level will be read by me. Then you will move to Captain Gruz. He will test your strength and speed. After him, you will go to Lar. Lar will test your resolve. You can and may fail at any one of the tests. If you do, you will return to the line. Am I clear?
He finished, looking up and down the line. Quest alert. Objective. Pass Captain Marlowe's tests. Bonus objective. Number 1. Unknown. Bonus objective number 2. Unknown. Bonus objective number 3. Unknown. Reward. 1,000 experience points. Failure. Another year at the orphanage. 200 experience. There was a mumbled, "Yes, Captain," from a few places in the line, with my own being the loudest by far, as I also thought except at the prompt.
I said, am I clear?
He thundered. "Yes, Captain," came the response, much louder. He nodded, then took the offered list from Ricto. He began working down the list one by one. 2 of the kids that I sensed to be around 100 passed Marlowe's test, with 1 failing at Gruz's test. The other was led around the corner by Captain Lar, having yet to return. Eventually, Jolie was called forward.
Give me your best snarl, kid. Try to make me afraid of you,
Marlowe commanded. Jolie appeared to be a bit taken aback, but clenched his fists and growled a bit. Marlowe hit a few buttons on his scouter, before calling out a pass and passing him on to Gruz.
Kill! Front and center!
Captain Marlowe called. I stepped forward, making my way to the spot all the other kids stood at. I could hear snickering from a few other kids in line, and didn't particularly like the way Captain Marlowe's eyes narrowed as he took in my third eye.
All right, kid, give it your best, he ordered.
I bent my knees slightly, setting myself slightly forward, arms crossed in front of my face. These little bastards want to laugh at me? I'll fucking show them. Captain Marlowe reached up to his scouter to read my power level, and I watched the numbers on it settle to 32. His mouth opened to call fail when I acted. I called, throwing my arms out to the side. I lit my aura. It spread out around me in voluminous, bright blue-green. My power level instantly shot up to 190, even jumping slightly past to 200, before dropping back down. The ground beneath me and around me cracked lightly, shooting a bit of dust into the air. I kept my aura lit as my eyes met Marlowe's. I could see the numbers holding steady at 190 on his scouter. His eyes unfocused slightly so I could see it, before focusing on me again. A suppressor, huh? Pretty rare for a Saiyan. Pass. Leave your power up and go see Gruz. I smirked at the silence behind me. All the little bastards that had obviously picked on me in shock at the sudden turn of events. Even that little asshole Liss was silent. I walked past Captain Marlowe to Captain Gruz and stood to wait for instructions. Liss was called up behind me after 2 other children failed. Good show, kid. Now let's see if we can get you through this section. Around me are weights, starting at 20 pounds, moving upwards. I need you to lift each one using both hands. When you get to the one you can't lift, we'll move on. Simple, right?
Yes, Captain Gruz,
I replied as I moved to the first weight. I let my aura die down, but kept my power up at 190, and began working through the weights. The first 4 were simple, and I had to actually push to lift 5, 6, and 7. The 8th I could barely budge. However, I knew a secret most of these kids didn't. As the tutorial taught, feats of strength started with your muscles and ended with your energy. How else was Goku smashing people into mountains, or smashing craters into the ground with every punch? Your muscles can only get so strong before they simply stop. Your energy, though, with enough of it, anything is possible. I began pumping my energy through my body, energizing my muscles to a height even I didn't know existed. The 8th, 9th, and 10th weights were as light as the first 4, and I didn't even break a sweat till I had to really push for the 15th. You have gained 1 strength from stressing your muscles.
You passed the strength test.
Officer Cruz spoke up from where he was watching me. Liz was sweating buckets, glaring at me, stuck at weight 9.
Never thought I'd see an untrained kid lift anything higher than 10 weights, but even I live to be surprised. You know how to use your energy?
I do. A little bit, I replied. My energy had dropped down to 160 from using it to lift the weights, but was slowly going back up. I would have to calculate the refill rate at some point in the future.
Well, I'm going to give you a pass on the agility test then. It's obvious you'd pass that as well. Head around the corner to see Captain Lar, he said, keeping his eyes on the struggling Liz.
Yes, sir, I replied as I walked off. I dropped my energy back down to 100, as it was a bit of a strain to keep it at max while it refilled. Something I imagine would get easier with practice. You have gained 1 intelligence from thinking through an aspect of the game. Well, alright, I thought as I rounded the corner. Standing before me were 2 other kids, one of which was Jolie. I observed the other, but he didn't appear to be all that interesting. His backstory was rather bland and probably wouldn't be important to the story. I mean, seriously, who names their Saiyan child Stu? You have gained 1 intelligence from realizing that backstories are important in more than just D&D. I'm going to ignore that one, I thought as I watched Jolie and the kid talk. I looked to Captain Lar, but he didn't say anything. Apparently we were waiting for the rest of the other kids for this test. I sat down in the grass against the building and closed my eyes. I took the time we had to sense the energy around us, reaching out as far as I could. I could sense some absolutely massive power levels farther out into the city, some even reaching as high as 100K, but nothing farther than that. That was about 3 or 4 miles away, I estimated. 2 of the other kids joined us in the meantime, both Liz and Sana. I felt Captain Marlowe and Gruz approaching, so I quickly stood up and moved into the group of kids.
Congratulations on passing the first 2 parts,
Captain Marlowe began.
However, this final part will be more difficult than the first, by far. Captain Gruz, explain the test.
Captain Gruz stepped forward, facing all 5 of us.
In the strike force, the chain of command is everything. Following orders is most important. As cadets, you will have many people above you in the chain of command that can order you to do just about anything at a moment's notice. It won't always make sense at the time, but it could possibly be integral to a mission's success. Following orders is what makes teamwork possible.
He met each of our eyes in turn before suddenly breaking out.
Pick a number, 1 through 10.
We each flinched before Sana called out, 4! 7! I called out, while Jolie picked 2, Liz picked 3, and Stu picked 10.
Good. That wasn't as fast as I'd have liked, but you'll learn quickly,
Captain Gruz replied.
Sana, Jolie, and Stu, step off to the side.
They quickly followed orders, leaving Liz and me alone in front of the captains.
It must be fate that left you 2 standing alone. It's my understanding that there was an incident this morning before we arrived involving you 2. I believe Kill got a ricto kick through a wall, he asked, looking at us. Neither of us replied other than looking at each other, then back at Captain Gruz. When your captain, your lieutenant, a sergeant, or your team leader gives you an order, you follow it. Is that clear to the both of you? He asked us.
Yes, sir! We both replied.
Good. Then you 2 will fight to the death. Go! He ordered.
Combat has started. Enemies, Liz, level 1, 200 experience. I'll be the first to admit that I froze. I wasn't expecting anything like that, and especially not on my first day in this world. I knew that Dragon Ball was a violent world, but I never expected it to be worse than Naruto. That universe has child soldiers. Though, on reflection, I guess so does this one. Liz reacted first, and with a snarl was smashing his fist into my face, tossing me backward about 3 feet. You have gained 1 intelligence from... Not now, game! Liz is coming back in! I brought up my hands, catching the next right and left, He went for a headbutt, but I was able to kick him in the stomach first, forcing him back. I didn't exactly know much about fighting, admittedly. I did some kickboxing when I was 14 in my old life, but didn't stick with it for more than a few months. Thankfully, this was more of a brawl than a fight. Liz was an untrained little kid, while I had 27 years of life experience to draw from. I powered up to the max, which was suddenly 209 now, and sent some of my energy into my limbs. As the energy passed through me, I noticed that Liz was moving noticeably slower. I didn't feel any slower than before, so it was easy to meet him head-on, as he rushed me. Slipping into his guard, my fist slammed head-on into his nose with a nice loud pop. The sound stopped him dead in his tracks before launching him backwards 10 feet. He hit the ground and rolled, with me but a few steps behind him. As he rolled, I was there, burying my foot into his ribs, doubling him over, his body practically ragdolled, sliding and rolling across the ground, slamming hard into the wall of the orphanage. I lifted off the ground, rushing through the air over to his downed body, preparing to slam my fist into him from the air. As my fist approached, there was a flash, and Captain Gruz was standing there, his hand wrapped around my fist, stopping me in my tracks.
Enough,
he ordered. I dropped to the ground when he released my wrist. I looked down at Liz, seeing what damage I had caused. His nose was mush, all crushed flesh, and clotting blood. His ribs had an indent from where I had kicked him, and there was blood pooling beneath him. I could see a flash of dull white. A broken rib had parted the flesh. I was in shock, staring down at the damage I had done, and could feel my breakfast threatening to resurface.
Gamer's mind activated.
Oh. Never mind then. I actually feel perfectly fine about nearly killing a fucking 5-year-old kid. Good thing this game can actually change my mind for me. Not a single thing to worry about there. No, sir.
He's alive, but barely,
Gruz said as he turned towards me.
Why did you attack with such ferocity, Kill? I know you saw part of his strength test. He can't use his energy as you can. His power level is lower than yours by almost half.
I mean, you ordered, and he attacked me. He was aiming to kill me, so I had to at least try to kill him, I stammered out, feeling a slight bit of shame. I was happy to see that even the game couldn't completely rob me of my emotions. He nodded, then turned to Sana, Jolie, and Stu.
Jolie, Stu, pick a number between 1 and 5.
Jolie flinched, hard, staring at me in fear, while Stu squeaked out a hesitant,
1. 3.
Jolie called out when Captain Gruz met his eyes.
Sana,
he called out, to which she quickly replied with a,
Yes, sir.
Gruz paused, his eyes tracking back and forth between Jolie and Stu. Seconds passed by, Stu glancing between Sana and Gruz, while Jolie simply trembled. There was a groan behind us, signaling that Liz was back in the world of the living. I felt a small measure of pity for him as I turned towards him. Had that been me waking up, I'd have most likely had a waiting alert telling me I had woken up completely healed and gained a Zenkai to boot. Captain Gruz hardly turned, pointing a finger unerringly at Liz's barely rising chest. With a complete lack of remorse or effort, he ended his life with a thin, sharp beam through his heart. Shock shot through my body at what I had just witnessed, barely acknowledging the pop-up telling me that combat had ended, and I gained 200 experience for the life of a toddler.
Sana, kill Stu!
He ordered suddenly. I had barely managed a half turn before I felt Sana's power rage behind me. There was a sharp, wet cracking noise, and I knew that Stu's life had ended. When I had finally turned completely, Stu's body was lying lifelessly on the ground at Sana's feet, his head at a highly unnatural angle. It was obvious that she had snapped his neck without a moment's hesitation.
Gamer's mind activated.
The rising horror that I was feeling was muted, diminished. I could understand that this world was a harsh one, that death was a certainty. I had made a horrible mistake in coming here. But short of dying myself, there was no going back. I'd have to simply make do.
Jolie!
Captain Gruz called out. Oh God, I thought as Captain Gruz told Jolie to pick a number between 1 and 2. It was easy to see that he was being forced to choose his executioner. Either I or Sana would be picked to kill this kid. He was stronger than both Liz and Stu had been, and actually could use his energy. He had been training with Sana for the past few months, and most likely had figured that trick out. This would be an actual fight. "One!" he yelled out, turning so that he was facing both Sana and me.
Good. You showed some bravery after all,
Captain Gruz called back. The three of us were frozen, staring at each other, wondering at the turn of events.
You can stand down, children. You've passed this test. Welcome to the Strike Forces,
Captain Marlowe told us. The world blurred around me, everything freezing in place. Quest success. Objectives. Pass Captain Marlowe's test. Pass, plus 1,000 experience. Bonus objective. Number 1. Show off while getting your power level measured. Pass, plus 300 experience. Bonus objective number 2. Earn a pass without taking the agility test. Pass, plus 300 experience. Bonus objective number 3. Kill one of your opponents. Fail, plus 0 experience. Total rewards, plus 1,600 experience. Minus 50 till level 2. Level up alert. Rewards, plus 2 attribute points, plus 1 feat, plus 1 special attack creation point. Earned title, the Saiyan Gamer. While this title is active, gain plus 10% experience from combat encounters, plus 20% experience from killing opponents, and plus 10% attribute points from training. Oh shit. That's not exactly a small power-up. The 2 points alone would make a huge difference in my strength, which seemed to equal out to a higher level somehow. I wonder how I level up, I thought. Of course, ask and you shall receive, as immediately a new screen popped up showing me a character sheet. Character sheet is shown on screen. Name, Kill. Race, Saiyan. Age, 5 years. Status, alive. Stats. Oh, that's how my health and power level work. That is actually rather simple now that I think about it. I quickly shoved both new attribute points into strength and endurance and accepted the changes. The feat sheet popped up next, showing the previous ones and 2 new ones. I still had 3 extra feats left from character creation and had just gained another. The 2 new feats were pretty interesting, but I wasn't sure if it would be worth it to burn more than 1 or 2. After some thought, I grabbed the 3rd level of Energy Sense and the 1st level of the Oxygen perk set. I finalized those selections and my newly updated character sheet popped up. Name, Kill. Title, the Saiyan Gamer. Race, Saiyan. Age, 5 years. Status, alive. Level, 2. 2,050 out of 7,000. 4,950 experience till level 3. Stats, shown on screen. Whoa! My power level went up ridiculously! I had to go over everything again to figure out what had changed. It seemed leveling would basically add a huge boost each time, as would battles. Apparently, my fight with Liss didn't count as a battle. I'd have to look into seeing what counted as a battle. As huge as the growth was right now, I could tell that leveling would slow down pretty quickly. Stat changes would mean small differences, as would Zenkai's, and I didn't know if battles required anything other than hurting someone below 20 HP, but we would see. I tapped on the finish, and the world swam back into view. I instantly felt horribly tired, and had to raise my power level to 45 to be above 10% of my power. It was strange to think that right now, I was stronger than both Goku and Piccolo when they fought their final battle at the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament. Granted, either one would smash my little ass into the ground due to huge differences in fighting ability. I began to pay attention to what the 3 captains were talking about now that I was back to normal.
We'll be leaving in a moment. Do all 3 of you know how to fly?
Asked Captain Marlowe. I nodded along with Sana and Jolie.
Good. Follow me then. I'll move slowly so you can keep up. Captain Lar, take care of the 2 bodies,
he ordered, then lifted off the ground. We flew outwards from the rough center of the city, heading what I thought was east towards the edge. It wasn't a long flight, but gave me enough time to observe a few people I could see flying around, below and above us. No one really stood out, but gotta use the skills to level them up. As we flew along, I realized that I hadn't found out what the special attack creation point was for. I'd have to look into that when I had the chance. As we reached the city edge, we swept left and upwards. Focusing in that direction, I could sense a multitude of people. I couldn't count them all, but definitely above 100 people. We flew in that direction for a time, till we came to a floating building of sorts. It was slightly dome-shaped, with 3 towers along the back edge. We landed near what I would call a gate, but it was composed of light.
Welcome to the Strikeforce Academy. Everyone here is a cadet, like yourself. Familiarize yourself with the buildings and where things are located quickly. There is much to be done, and never enough time to do it all. Come morning, you will be placed on a squad. Each squad will be led by an older student who is in their final year here. They will be your team leader, and you will be expected to follow their orders, he said as we entered through the gate. Insubordination will not be tolerated.
We were led through one of the buildings, down a set of staircases. Through one of the doors, we found a small room with 3 tiny beds in it.
You will stay here tonight. After your squad selection, you will live with them for your time here. Under each bed, you will find several items, including a scouter. Put that on along with the standard issue Saiyan armor. You will be alerted when lunch is ready. Just follow the scouter prompts. Any questions?
He finished. Jolie spoke up asking, "Were 3 kids only ever going to be chosen, Captain? There are 3 of us, and 3 beds."
That's right, he answered. We only pick 3 children each year to join the academy. If there is a child that is in their 6th year and somehow passes, an exception is made. No more questions. I have work today.
With that, he swept out the door. I moved towards the bed on the far right and began to go through the items in the pull-out drawer beneath it. I pulled out the scouter, clipping it onto my left ear. At pushing the main button, there was a click and a small suction feeling as it attached to my head. I tap away at it a few times, turning on the comlink, switching channels, activating the scanner, etc. Kind of just playing with it, really.
"How did you do it?"
Sana asked from behind me. I turned to look at her over my shoulder and replied,
"Oh, you just hit the center button once and it activates easily enough,"
I said as I fully turned around. At the look on her face, however, I asked, "You weren't talking about the scouter, were you?"
"No, I wasn't. How did you change so quickly? A week ago, you were a weakling that couldn't go a single day without getting slapped around by the other kids. Then today you turned into a different person. Regardless of what the captain did in the end, you killed Liz," she accused.
I took a step back and considered her accusations. Technically, she was right, and my progress would look strange to an outsider. However, I didn't exactly owe anyone an answer. I'd died to be here, and I'll be damned if I just let it go.
I was hiding my power, obviously, I replied coolly, turning back to my armor.
If this stuff is stretchy as in the show, why are there adult-sized ones? If this child model can stretch to the size of an Ozaru, why make adult models at all? I thought to myself as I went over it. A hand grabbed my shoulder, whipping me around, before another hand grabbed my throat, lifting me and slamming me into the wall. Sana stood there, holding me in place, looking up into my face with contempt.
"I'd suggest you remember your place, Triclops. Just because you were strong enough to pass the test doesn't mean you're actually worth anything,"
she said angrily. Her power level was hovering at exactly 258. Not a bit of strain showing from holding me aloft. Her fist curled, coming up to punch me in the stomach. If it was a fight she wanted, it was a fight she was going to get. My power level surged to 350 in less than a split second, while I concentrated most of it on my stomach to block her attack. Her fist hit what must have felt like a steel wall from the way she jerked it back, pain evident on her face. I pushed my energy outward with a yell, igniting my aura in a flash of light. Sana was launched back, barely being caught by Jolie, who reacted at the last second. I floated there looking down at her as she got back to her feet.
"And I would suggest to you that you make sure you're actually powerful enough to back up your words before you try to throw them around,"
I said before powering back down. I landed and went back to going through the drawers, treating Sana as though she didn't matter. I'm sure that would infuriate her. I heard some movement from behind me, but no overt movements towards me. Once I had tried my armor on, I laid on the bed to relax till lunch. All in all, even with seeing 2 toddlers die, I'd say my first day went all right. To be continued. Please like and subscribe for more.